Hello, ladies and gents. Today we're going to look at an ending. I love endings. And every now and then, my friends ask me, what is more important, the opening, the middle game, the ending? Well, all of them are very important. The openings are important in terms that if you don't know what are you doing in the opening and just try to figure it out every single time, you're going to end up in a bad position. So you're not going to feel very comfortable. Probably going to lose because of that. What are the middle games and tactics important? Because if you don't do the tactics, if you don't do the puzzles, uh, you're going to notice that actually you're getting forked easily. You can't see the combinations, the sequences, you miscalculate stuff. And again, you're going to drop your pieces. Endings important? Absolutely, they are important because even if you consider the simple scenario which is on the board right now, don't know the endings, if you don't understand the basic checkmates, the checkmates, or this particular concept we're going to look at today, you can't capitalize on your advantage. So you actually can't win. You're going to draw, or even worse, you're going to lose. So, for instance, this very situation that we have on the board, let's just look at this now. It is called to restrict your opponent's piece's activity. Well, that's important at any stage of the game. Don't get me wrong. If you can shut down a bishop, if you can generate uh, and restrict a piece in the middle game, that's awesome. But that the most important in the end game is to limit their action, limit their freedom, so that you can actually capitalize on your own pieces. So here it is White's turn. And if you look at the position here, you would like to make the black rook as inactive as possible. And what better way to do that than moving rook over to d5, which means very simply direct attack on the pawn on a5. So black needs to defend it. Okay. Now, some of us might be tempted to say, oh, they go a little bit more passive, and that's not very fortunate. You're going to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to defend my own pawn here. Actually, that would be a little bit of a super blunder, if I may say that. Because just imagine that black rook just plays here. Then you're going to have to drop the pawn, because if you take, the black pawn is going to take, and they only need 3 steps to actually promote into queen, and your king is far away from the promotion square. So, you know, this kind of things are very likely to happen. So hopefully you're going to have a couple of minutes on your clock if you are to get into this kind of position, because really it's a formality. Rook to d5, and for the same reason they can't really play the rook here, because you're going to take, you're going to capture. Well, they can't even play at all. Sorry, guys. So absolutely out of the question. So rook d5, eyeing the pawn on a5 now, and black is going to have to play passively. You moving your pawns because you got pawn majority on the king side, and you want to push them down or up the boards, depends how you're looking at it now. King gets closer. Another important concept is centralize your king. Get your king closer in the middle game, because you want to support the white rook. You want to get closer to the isolated black pawn on f6. They attacking you. Do not withdraw your rook. Okay, so don't do that, because that will be to allow the black rook to actually perhaps change the columns, and rather than A, they'll be going to a different square, to a different column. So don't do that, but instead maintain the blockage, maintain the black rook where they are, keep them confined to defend the rook, and you cut off completely the black king, which can't move down the board at all. Move the king. You may wonder, why did the white king move on e4? Well, very simply, because you want to push the f4. Check, because king's opposition, when the kings are in opposition, you're going to check them, and now they need to withdraw one more time. And by doing so, you gain now access to the f5 square, thus attacking here twice. You have another check, forces the king on the back rank. But most importantly here would be, in my view, to just simply take this pawn with tempo, and then you can go eventually back to where you were, and then you will have created 2 passes ready to march on and to promote. Very nice, very sweet, very important. Now, let's just pause it here for a couple of seconds, guys, and you already gain incredibly important access on the second rank. Okay, so now which one do you think is White's weakness in this position? And if you look at it, there is one particular pawn very important for you to attack straight away. That'll be the pawn on b3. How do you attack that? Well, you can't go here because the pawn's going to take you, but you can definitely play on b2 and exert pressure. What would that mean? If white is really interested in preserving the pawn, they will have to play a3. Because if they don't, you're going to take it. And if that pawn falls, you're going to then be attacking the other two white pawns at the same time, and they can't be defended. They will be captured. So rook to b2 definitely restricts the white rook's activity. They have to go on a3, playing a very passive game. Moving your king closer. Remember, get the king centralized. Move the king towards the middle of the board. The king itself, guys, you need to make it a habit. The king itself is an attacking piece. So now where do you think the king wants to go? Very nicely here on b4, attacking the rook. And then when you remove the defender of the pawn, the other guy will be captured straight away. Absolutely brilliant. And now the b3, nice, easy, elegantly will be captured. And it's just a formality. The other 2 pawns will be taken. And you're going to have 3 passes, and they are all queens, so to speak. Well, you only need 1 extra queen to be winning here. And let's look at a last example in today's brief lesson. White had played another very fortunate move with knight on d5. Why would that be not a very fortunate move? Because simply there is only one way for them to move after they played this blunder. If you're watching around the knight now, all the squares are taken by the black pieces. They can't move on any of those squares. Look, let me just highlight. So the white knight, after they played d4, d5, they realized they can't move on any of those squares. And actually there is one last square they might be trying to escaping. That is b6. Can we cover the b6 whilst we maintain control and cover on all the other squares we've already highlighted? Yes, of course we can. We're going to play the bishop, c5. And now we've taken all the squares from to which the white knight may be dreaming to go to and save itself. Now, one last piece of formality here. Can you attack is there any way for black to attack the white knight? Of course there is. Don't forget, king is an attacking piece. Boom. King e5. Knight can't go anywhere. Whatever they do, they may try to limit the damage now. You know, there is another principle in chess. If you have to lose a piece, at least take something with you. That makes sense. So, to limit the damage, they might say, yeah, I'm going to take one f4. But fortunately for black, you're actually you're defending twice that square. So you can take. And that's it. You've got one extra piece. You're making very nice pressure here on d3. Then you're going to be attacking this guy. This guy is being attacked. This pawn. Everything looks very, very good here. Okay, so yeah, I would imagine if white king plays on g4, you could just go and capture this pawn, checking the king, then coming back, attacking this guy. Then this guy is going to be a passer. And what's not to like about this position? Shall we try one more time, perhaps? Okay, let's just try one more time here. What would you guys play in this position with black? So let's imagine you're having the black pieces. How do you restrict whites in this position? How do you practically all of a sudden annihilate 2 pieces at the same time? Probably you've seen that. If you were to just move this rook here on e8, which is a great rook here, and if you just place it right on e1, suddenly the knight would be pinned, because you're going to take the rook, and there's not too much they could do. Let's just play this. This is just great. The knight can't move, rook therefore doesn't exist. If a piece cannot play, it doesn't exist. Doesn't matter what material you've got on the board, because in chess, let me just remind you again, what matters absolutely, ladies and gents, is the pieces activity. So this is the highest philosophy in chess. Pieces activity matters absolutely. That is why, in many occasions, towards the end of the game, you may want to just simply sacrifice material to either have a checkmate net, a sequence or something, because it doesn't matter what you're having, how you are using your resources to checkmate your opponent's king. Shall we try one last time? I think I've said last time. Okay, let's try one last exercise here, and I hope it's the last one because I kind of like it. I'm addicted to chess puzzle, and I don't seem to be able to be stopping. So let's look at this position here with black. There are many ideas, and amongst them, you would like to get a nice queen here, right, with the black pawn. But first thing first, is there any way we can restrict the white pieces in this position here? Namely, this very dangerous rook. We want to deem it ineffective. We want to make it completely unplayable, so to speak. And there is one uneventful looking move, like king over to g7, and you see, what's this gonna do? That matters absolutely, because this move with the king on g7, it's a devastating move. It looks incredibly uneventful, but actually it completely blocks the rook. The rook cannot move, cannot play, doesn't exist. Or your black rook, it does whatever the heck they want to, like protecting the pawn to promote, and that's all you actually need. So the rook can't move. We've established that. The pawn can't move. The other guy can't move, obviously. All three white pieces are completely blocked because of your superb king g7. Okay, so that's how you may win in the end if you just understand this principle and do this kind of exercises, perhaps before you are having over the board this kind of scenarios, and you are going to win much easier because you've understood a very important principle: how to limit your opponent's pieces activity in the end, especially so that you can, guys, capitalize. And as in this position, you're going to get yourself a nice queen. Remember, now, if the king were to attack you, perhaps you may want to maintain the blockage here, and you may want to keep the white king trapped on the first rank for the time being, so you can advance the pawn down the board. So that's just an idea that might be for you guys to consider. Okay, thank you very much for today, ladies and gents. I'm going to see you next time with more, perhaps, endings. I absolutely love to capitalize after I've gained some advantage. So I will see you guys very soon. Thank you.